On this edition of our Music Industry Forum, faculty member Billy O'Connell talks with Bishop Lamont. Bishop is an MC, producer, actor, and activist.
Bishop Lamont is our guest today. He's a massively respected figure in West Coast hip hop. He's an acclaimed MC, producer, actor, and activist. He has an incredible range of experience with some of the other major figures in West Coast rap. Warren G, Dr. Dre, Chuck D to be East Coast for a moment. Be Real, Exhibit, Jay Dilla. The list goes on, and we will make sure that you see the bio in case you want to look up this dude's bona fides. He is bona fide. He's also very involved in giving back, and it's just as important to him to do so. He collaborates with the Whalers, benefiting United Nations World Hunger Program, and he's collaborated with this all-star crew on Invisible, benefiting the United Way LA Downtown Women's Center and the Skid Row Housing Trust. This man gets his hands dirty. He does the hard part first. He does the work. His music has been in video games that you know, True Crime, Madden 2007, NBA Live 06. His songs have appeared in all kinds of media that you've enjoyed. We can get into your path, Bishop, and so that I'm not just reciting your bio, but if you keep in mind your own personal timeline, it'll help us to shed light on not only where you've been and what your legacy is, but also kind of where you're going and why that's so important as well, because you are getting ready to put out another great work imminently. So how about that? How about we just take it where you can communicate your path in your words. You're a multi-dimensional person. You have comic books are there, and video games are there, and society, social activism is there, and music has always been there. So what's your narrative through line, like if you were to describe your path from the time you're like 13 years old listening to vinyl records?
It started even earlier, because growing up in my household, my mom was playing all kind of stuff. It would range from, of course, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Nina Simone, James Brown, Creedence Clearwater, Isley Brothers, Fleetwood Mac. It would go so many places, and this is before there was even a hip hop thing going on. So the music was always in the background. Even Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra. It was just interesting because I'm a kid hearing it and I'm just absorbing it, and I always believe that music. I mean, I'm a nerd first, so I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd.
All about it. Yeah.
Yes, all about it. And we were nerds when it wasn't cool to be nerds. You know what I mean? Like,
when you get beat up for being a nerd.
But music changes, like the vibrations. The vibrations can change the molecular structure inside your body. Like me and my wife were having this conversation about the body, like even in its physical, like mass, it's still open. It's not closed cells. So it's very receptive to everything. Even though we look, it's just whatever vibration level. So anyway, I think the music at an early age already started to change me and empower me and give me information that I wasn't even aware of. So moving on to 13, 14, you have the love of cartoons, every day coming home from school. So you have Thundercats, you have Transformers, you have Mask, you have Smurfs. You know what I mean?
Oh, you were a nerd.
Yeah. The 80s was a great time for animation. And for even movies, because when I saw The Never-Ending Story, when I saw The Secrets of Nim, like there was so many dope things. The Labyrinth with David Bowie, like there was so much imagination going on that it did something to my brain. And then I saw Revenge of the Nerds at some point there too. And when they did the hip hop thing with Lamar and Booger and all these cats, like I'm a gumbo of so many different cultural influences, even a Ferris Bueller, Weird Science, Danny Elfman,
Oh
Oingo
my
Boingo.
God. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm a weirdo. I'm a
Yeah,
super
yeah.
weirdo. And the music did me well. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
remember in one scene where they pulled out something from either Beethoven. It was either Beethoven or Bach. But they put that in there when they were designing the girl. You know, we're showing our age, but you get it. You remember
Oh
Tony
yeah.
Rock.
Oh, I
So
remember Weird
like,
Science. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
young Robert Downey Jr., all these
I think
cats.
I
But
named. I
anyway,
think I named one of my sons Wyatt because of that movie.
see, and yeah. So all that mixed together to just make me a mad scientist. And then when hip hop happened,
Yeah.
it was just another realm to escape in because I started seeing people that looked like me.
Yeah.
It was very important because I never saw people like me doing this kind of stuff. And from the level of what was going on in the streets, you were finally seeing people who could be journalists, street corner journalists, whatever, that were reporting what was going on in the inner cities and in our lives that other people didn't understand.
Yeah.
There was things that were happening for me as a teenager walking to school and at school that my mom wouldn't understand. It's a generational gap. She wouldn't understand. I couldn't explain. So music was really therapeutic and I don't know, a confidence builder. It was the big brother when my big brother was no longer there. So I don't know. Just
so were you would you say you were a sensitive kid?
I'm still sensitive. Very sensitive.
Yeah. It takes a certain amount of self-actualization, vulnerability to be able to say that. But I think that the best of us are sensitive,
it's
kind
most
of emotionally porous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's most important if you are, but it's just understanding how to harness it and not get offended so easily because your interpretation of what somebody's saying does not have to be hostile or them just trying to be a dick. You know what I mean? It's just how they express themselves. But I'm super sensitive. It's a great reason for my level of empathy and my level of connection with people, period. But it helped with just how I see the world to this very day. So I like to I don't like to be numb. I don't like to try to block out what I'm feeling or what I'm seeing because through those kind of experiences is how you understand other people, and then you understand we're all the fucking same. It doesn't matter what the external reflects, it's what the internal is and what the actions are and what the same challenges, the same fears, the same anxieties.
Yeah.
And here I am.
Yeah. So it's funny, we skipped a step, which is, you were a consumer of these very important pieces of content, media, cartoons, comic books, music. This stuff washed over you. It went in, but somewhere along the line, you became a maker. That's a big shift. How did that happen? Like what gave you, that internal permission or the drive, or what was it that overcame the sort of, we all live in some sort of state of inertia, right? Where that which is going on tends to continue. Well, what helped you break the inertia and become a maker, a contributor of those things, which I think is a remarkable process inflection point?
True. Revisionist history. I'm not sure, but 12 or 13 in my buddy's clubhouse, in his treehouse in his backyard, after school, and he had a couple of cute girls over, and they're listening to hip hop, and the girls are really excited about hearing the potty mouth and the extremities of what the parental advisory. You want to listen to stuff your parents say no.
Do you remember what the music was?
Geez, early. That's 90, 89. It was probably too short. It was probably too short.
That's a special time in music, that's for sure.
Super potty mouth. Now it's like misogynistic. It's this and this. It's toxic masculinity. But back then it was just fun, and we were hearing cuss words and things about body parts that our hormones were just starting to kick in gear for. So ears up, antennas up. But I'm watching them react to it. And then I'm like, damn, I want to do this because if this, I mean, look how corny and shallow that is. If this gets the girls, if this impresses the girls, I want to be cool, because you gotta realize my confidence my self-esteem was very low at that time. You know,
Well, I think that's
it.
I think that's just it. Forgive me for interrupting. I'm going to let you pick up, but that's it. You know, like you got to let yourself off the hook at some point. We're 12, 13 years old. We're struggling to figure out who we are, how to be a person. Like who are the role models? And you hear something that's suited to you and you think, wow, they really love that. They're reacting to that. That's what I want to be. I want to have an effect on people. I want to be able to assert this influence on the world.
And simply, I want to be liked. I want to be accepted. I want to be cool. I want to be somebody that people want to be around because, mind you, at this age, I was still a super bedwetter. So it's like, you know, I'm the pissy kid. You know,
I love you for admitting all that. I love that for just copping to who you were when you were a kid. Because that's
real life.
That's healing, dude. That's healing. That is some healing shit. And I really feel like music is love and medicine. And you're a healer.
That's what it's supposed to be. So at that time, it's just like, it's the PD kid without a dad, poor kid, whatever. At this time, we're living out in Reno Valley. Everybody's pretty much poor or barely in middle class. And so that's kind of like where we are. And we're trying to define ourselves. We're trying to find self-value. So the music, directly and indirectly, showed me how to find my value. And so I started, I think we freestyled that day in the tree house, and I got a reaction. And then from then on, that's all I wanted to do. So
right. That's a chemical, right? That was a chemical. There was that pop, that dopamine pop. Right.
And results. Yeah. Results in real time, instantly. Just, you know, and the butterflies are crazy, but like I'm gonna try to freestyle. And the reaction I got was so rewarding. It was like, we're gonna do this shit. Because
look what your body's doing right now. Look what your body's doing right now. Your shoulders get high up. You're feeling the tension of that moment. You know that like, you get all tense.
I'm glad my brain can remember because it was so long ago, but it's those kind of defining moments. And so I was kind of in between wanting to go into animation because my dream as a kid was to either draw for Marvel or DC, and somewhere at that point move to Disney and be a part of that whole world because I was always intrigued with Jim Henson's workshop. Yeah. So just the animatronics and the stuff that they were doing there. Yep. First when Werewolf in London. Oh yeah. When
American Werewolf
in London. When I saw
I literally have a picture on my desktop from that movie. Like right now, I have a picture on my desktop.
You understand then how impactful that was from how they created that werewolf and the metamorphosis from human, how to express that excruciating pain and the stretching of the limbs and like that stuff just blew my mind. So that's what I really wanted to be in. And my mom got me an easel, my mom got me pastels, my mom got me inks, whatever I was dreaming of doing. Wow. My mom encouraged me and blessed me, and that stayed with me. The same with my daughter. Whatever her dreams are, I fuel them. So she did that for me. But all of a sudden, I wasn't concerned with the easel and the drawing anymore. I wanted a DR5, Dr. Rhythm beat machine, which was the first beat machine I got. And I wanted to rhyme and I wanted to produce and keyboards. And so that's where my world went. And then I just studied. Every album I had, I read all the credits, read all the producers. Were they ASCAP? Were they BMI? You know, whatever it was.
You're just a sponge. You're a sponge, right?
Right. And I'm writing down all the lyrics. I'm writing up all the lyrics so I can understand how to design them. At the same time,
that's another important thing to like stop and take note of. You're literally writing out lyrics longhand. Yeah. As an aspiring lyricist, there's learning in that muscular activity, in that flesh and bone activity of writing out longhand these lyrics. You're building like neuronal pathways that show you what it feels like to do that, and then you can. Excuse me. When a kid starts a band or something, all their stuff sounds really derivative. It's like, oh, this is my Bob Dylan song. This is my Rolling Stones song. This is my blues track. Right? It's like you're gonna be derivative, right? And it's just part of the process. But it's great when, even though you think you're being derivative, you're actually creating something that's fairly unique because it's charged with your own personality. And then that's that sort of middle step until you start to really innovate and create really.
And you find your own voice. And you find your own voice. Like I always try to tell artists, like when people talk about biting and this and that, and I'm like, there's nothing original under the sun when you start at your base. You know what I mean? It's like if the will already exists, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna style it out how you style out the wheel, or if you're gonna have 4 wheels or 6 wheels. But at the beginning, whoever you're most intrigued by, moved by, is who you emulate. And then you have to step away from those training wheels. Those training wheels are great because I used to just memorize the songs, study their cadence, study the energy of it, where they were breathing and where they weren't breathing. Like I was always a stickler when I hear people drawing heavy breaths. Like I got so mental with it that you have to be a crazy mad scientist. But at a point, you shed what they are and you find yourself, or you're not going to be a true artist. But you always harken back to what your building blocks are. So for me at that time, it was Run DMC, it was Rakim. What was going on back then? Stetsasonics. MC Light, Kumo D, LL Cool J, KRS-One,
De La.
Of course, De La, Jungle Brothers, Black Sheep, Queen Latifah, Moni Love. Redman, I mean, you name it. So that's just the East Coast sphere because I don't want to. Cool G rap. It's too many. I don't want to disrespect anybody by forgetting anybody. But then on the West Coast, like people never give the credit to Young MC. I think Young MC is one of the dopest MCs ever. He's never in anybody's top 10, top 15. But Young MC was writing so many dope songs for Delicious Vinyl, writing songs for Tone Loc. Just bust a move when you listen to it to this very day. It's so innovative and so dope. And they never give him his credit. So you got Young MC, you got Tone Loc, you got Coolio, you have Souls of Mischief, you have, who else is going on at that time? There's a group called The Knots, Medusa, Superb, you have Freestyle Fellowship, and this is all underground stuff.
Underground,
LA.
I was going to say, because that's not like Ice-T. Ice-T was around right then with, Rhyme Pays. He was just starting to take off in like 87,
Ice-T,
88.
Chris the Glove, but like that's gangster rap. Like I'm not a gangster. I'm a nerd. So I can relate, and I'm like, I know those guys. I see those guys on the block, but I'm looking towards the guys that are like me. I didn't know Ice-T was a nerd too, because if you look back to like the movies and stuff, and you see him in Chris Glove wearing all the rock and roll stuff and all the crazy stuff from the Planet Rock era and Melly Mel, all that kind of stuff, it's dope. So all that just gumboed together and just really helped me hone it. And I just DLC to have such a voice. And he was the only guy on Ruthless that rhymed like that with such knowledge and skill set that when I talked to him, I said, it sounds like Rakim, Chuck D merged together and something else, maybe LL. And he just laughed at me. But like he studied all these different artists. So it made me back then start to study it the same way as somebody would study martial arts. And that's really how I continue, because it's like you can't just have one strike, you can't have one kick, you can't have one kind of ground game, you can't have one kind of standing ground or stance. And it just fed me. It was just crazy what the journey did, but it was such a vast and rich universe. And I'm a trekker. I'm not a trekkie. I'm a trekker. So I'm always looking for new planets and galaxies to explore with the music. And so that's it was. And I'm so grateful for it.
Well, it's funny. I think that you might think of it in terms of a painter. You have to have paint on your palette, right? And you have to acquire those tubes of paint in order to get them on your palette. And consuming all that music and processing all those influences. I mean, each one was a dab of a different color, and then it's up to you to mix and to paint what you see, but without all those, without a full range of colors on the palette, what the hell are you going to do? So,
and you have to not listen to rap to create hip hop. For me, at that point, once I digested enough of what they were doing, and I started to have the wherewithal with where I was trying to go with it, I think classical music was introduced to me way early in my life. So having Bach, and Beethoven, Chopin, just did something to my mind. And then loving architecture loving the design of roller coasters.
It's funny. Those are supposed to be related things. Apparently, early consumption of classical music does a lot to your math brain. Architecture is math. Music is math. No doubt about it. Right? It's all so mathematical. I think you're definitely touching on something very interesting about your background. The idea that you had this, I mean,
I'm a weirdo,
you got wired in a weird friggin' way, which is gorgeous. You know, it's a great thing.
Early on in the 80s, we had moved to Buena Park, and where we lived, it was Crescent Ave. I forget what the other street was, but it was directly across the street from Knott's Berry Farm. So every day I could see Knott's Berry Farm, and pretty much every other day in the summer we'd be at Knott's Berry Farm.
Knott's Berry Farm is a huge amusement park here in it's like a theme park in Southern California.
So I love the roller coasters. Then I got to go to Magic Mountain. And the weird thing for a nerd's mind is I'm looking at the twists and turns and the way it sets up before you get ready for the drop. So then I started designing rhymes based on the way people design roller coasters. Based on the way that people design freeways and bridges, and just like even guard mazes had something that just made me think of how to structure rhymes. So I started to impose all of those different influences, even looking at Rembrandt portraits or Picasso or Michelangelo, like whatever it was, I would look at it and then go, how can I do this verbally? How can I do this in an audio form? And it started to really show me a realm that I didn't know existed. I'm still studying it. I'm still figuring it out.
I mean, we could talk for hours about that. We could talk for days about what does that even mean, right? Like if you're talking about recreating Rembrandt through rhyme,
right?
What? Okay, so if we really want to parse that, what do you mean when you say Rembrandt? Like, what's the picture in your brain? What does that represent as a process? And then how are you doing that through words, right? Like I love the idea that is so deep, and we can go on and on and on.
Part two. But it's so, you know what else was a huge influence? Rod Serling.
Wow.
The Twilight Zone and with the Night Gallery. Night Gallery superimposed both the science fiction, the spiritual, and the visual of what the art was. Because, before each episode would start, there were these portraits that Rod Serling would show up. And so the music was already so amazing. And then you look at the colors, you look at what the paintings were conveying. And I was like, how can I do this? Because all we're trying to do with music, either a singer or a rapper or a poet or even a producer, we're trying to create visuals with our words. We're trying to make you see what we're saying. So this gave me an even greater look into how to give it more depth, how to give it more layers. And
even that's an interesting approach, to say that what you're doing is conjuring visuals instead of, other people might say, I'm looking to trigger a chemical in you, right? A chemical reaction. And some people might just go straight through the auditory route to do that. But your orientation to this is to create visuals that tell a story. It seems to me like visualness is a primary medium of intake for you.
It's one of my tools in the toolbox. But when you're creating songs, what you're trying to do is put people in that place. So like I was telling my buddy last night, I was like, I don't like to go from one project to another project, at the same time. I have to devote myself solely to that character or that script. So I approach it the same way you do a film. There were so many influences. So it sits in the same place of, I have to create and put the listener there. They have to understand the characters and what's going on, even if I put them in the middle of the story. If I don't give you the origin, I still have to be able to make you understand the journey of this character. Because the song is only 3 minutes, sometimes 6 minutes if you're dope enough. So like that's always been my basis. How can I put them right into the experience? When you make a song, it should be an experience. It's not just words. It's just not noise. It should be an experience. And people should have goosebumps, or people should be able to relate. The key thing is having them be able to relate and feel and see what you're saying, even if they don't understand that world, even if they don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But for some reason in there, there are the core elements that connect us as human beings, and they understand the triumph, they understand the struggle, the failures, whatever. And so like that's my scope. That's where I'm at.
I managed an artist that had very impressionistic lyrics, and I used to hear this comment from time to time. I don't know what the hell she's saying, but I know what she means.
There you go.
Right? And that's really what you're describing. I love that idea.
That's success, because it's about connection. If somebody's a million miles away in take your pick, if just say Norway, and you're trying to explain to Norway how things happen in New York, or how things happen in Atlanta, or how things happen in Detroit, what are going to be the very fine threads that connect us? And it's going to be through the human experience. So that's where I always start, because there's nothing new under the sun, and everybody's going through the same shit from their own, excuse my French, from their own tier, from their own
perspective, or their own
perspective.
Right,
so my thing is, how can I meet you there? And you have to bring them in with the right energy. You have to bring them in with good intentions. It always starts with pure intentions behind the song. It's a braggadocious type song, whatever, you understand, because still people want to be confident, people want to be cool, but I always try to delve more into the heartfelt, more into the introspective, more into the things that go unsaid, more of the things that people keep closer to their heart. You know, that's what I'm intrigued. That's what I'm intrigued with.
Seems from the outside looking in, it seems like a desire to connect. Like that's what the art of music is in your hands, is a tool for connection. Not looking for like aggrandizement. You're not looking for praise. You're not looking to be seen as a hero. You're looking to connect with another person, which I think is to me, I mean, that's the kind of artist that I love, is the kind of artist that's looking to connect with me and share their point of view, give me a doorway into their worldview, into their experience, right? And and I think that you're touching on something else very, very important, which is that's really what we sell when we sell music. We're selling an experience. We're selling the experience of being in someone else's head, in their body, in their shoes, in their life, in their day-to-day, in their emotional world.
I feel like it's an unwritten law for artists when they get into doing music, be it at a major label, whatever. Now that doesn't matter anymore. For kudos to major labels, but it's a wild frontier again now, so everybody can participate. The people that didn't make the cut because this guy was a douchebag as an A&R, or was some weirdo stuff, or they just couldn't deal with the pressure.
Some gatekeeper or whatever.
Gatekeepers. Now you can just create music, but there's an unwritten law to me. There's an obligation that if these artists saved you, if these artists changed your life, you have to turn around and do the same thing for others. So that's always my first thing. How can I do what Run DMC or Pete Rock and CL Smooth or Tribe Called Quest did for me, and changed my life and made me feel I wasn't alone, made me feel, man, LOG and the Bulldogs, be a father to your child, a father to your son. I forget the correct name of the song, but these were the kind of things. Or when Shaq, when he was rapping, he had a song, I still had a father, even when my biological didn't bother. These were powerful statements for kids that didn't have dads, for kids that were in, thank you, baby, for kids that were in broken homes and in desolate times, and there was no hope. The music was always a ray of light. The music gave you vibrations in the worst of times. So for me, every artist, personally, if the music changes your life, you have to change other people's lives. If these songs lifted you up, somewhere in your repertoire, somewhere in your discography, there better be some songs that uplift other people, or selfish, because I think the universe is based on equivalent exchange. I think the universe is a cohabitation of everybody sharing, because we share the same air, we share the same sky, we share the same sun, the moon, whatever you want to say. We're on the same ball of this craziness that's going on, but we're here together. And so even in these times, we are always seeking connection. And so the music is another form of us just wanting to connect as human beings. I see you, you see me. The greatest thing that people want is to be acknowledged, to be seen, is to be heard, is to be accounted for, is to be valued. And so that's always the foundation for me, because I know what it can do. A note can change everything in your body. That's incredible. A when we're fighting with a government that won't do right, when we're fighting, you know, whatever, when music can make it right. That's a beautiful place to start.
Yeah.
And so like that's always for me.
You know, there's a legendary LA band called Los Lobos that has a song that sticks in my head all the time. See how we are.
Yes.
See how we are. That's like the message of the music, right? It's like this is who we are. This is what we're experiencing. This is validation of our experience. I'm going to need to make a quick transition here into the part where you went into business. You started doing this professionally, right? And now things change. And there are differences, right? And your experiences are remarkable. You're working, you know, you're signed to Aftermath. You're working with Dre. You are part of some enormous groundswell. I can't believe that there's not collateral damage there. That there's a trade-off. You know, I say this all the time in my classes. There's always a trade-off. I don't care what your choice is. There's always a trade-off. If you're a billionaire and you want to go buy yourself an island, you have to choose, do I want it to be a tropical island? Do I want it to be a rocky island off the coast of Maine? I need to choose an island, right? I can't have them all.
Right.
So there's always a trade-off. It doesn't matter. So what are some of the things that you dealt with as you transitioned from this beautiful, pure exercise in connection with those around you and reflection of your experience into a business, into the business? What changed? What did you deal with?
That's the scariest place for an artist, and it always will be. But the journey started way before the Aftermath thing, because when the Aftermath thing happened, it was after I'd already raised my buzz to a crazy level in Los Angeles, and I was visiting the East Coast as well. So I was making a name for myself. But I started way earlier, where I was working on songs for TV shows, films. I ended up at Edmonds, at Babyface's label. And a good friend over there, Tara Desabi, started helping me get involved with the producers over there when they were working on film. So the first thing I think I did over there was for this movie called Havoc, and the Havoc soundtrack. And I got the opening, I got the title song for the movie trailer. You know, it was very surreal.
That's a huge placement.
It's
when you're in the trailer,
thing, right?
That's huge. Yeah. Yeah.
And guess what? I got paid $200.
Oh,
because you don't know. And of course, if you don't know, that's the trap for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's horrible.
You know, for all our music cats watching, students, like, know this. People are going to try to take advantage of you. And you only have so much wherewithal, because your toolbox is about your art, and it's about your heart. It's about what you feel and what you want to do. And they love that. That's fresh fish for them coming in. It's like, you know, you got stars in your eyes. You believe all the guys that you're reading in the magazines. You got posters of. You're watching the videos, but they're really that cool. But guess what? Most of those guys are assholes, and they are not that. They stole that.
And you're an easy yes instead of a credible no. Like, even if you go in and you say, no, I think I want to renegotiate. They say, all right, we'll wait. We'll use somebody else, go ahead, or we'll wait. You'll come back. You'll do it our way.
And this is what they call paying dues and stuff. So I was doing that. I was also frequently at the time in LA, then 92.3 The Beat. And somehow I made my way up there and made friends and started doing drops for all the DJs, because my thinking was, I need people to hear me. So let me do drops for all these DJs and do their theme songs for when they're coming in, or just drops during the show. And all LA is hearing you constantly. And if it's dope, look at those couple of seconds or whatever, how long it is, it's a minute, you're being heard and broadcasted live on national radio.
When you're doing those DJ drops, you're not only being played on a major radio station, but people are being exposed to you in a great context with a lot of advantage, right? You have
next to your favorite artists, like your drops going off and Jay-Z's coming on, or Snoop Dogg, or whoever, right? So I was always trying to think in different ways to get heard. And then we put together a mixtape, and it had original songs on it called Who I Gotta Kill to Get a Record Deal. And so I think at this time I had made friends up at Interscope Records, so I was up here a lot. And so what we did was we snuck into the office. My buddy Nick the Wizard Sanders played the executive. We put a gun to his head, because we were watching all the Snoop Dogg Death Row stuff. We're like, I gotta be edgy. So it's like, give me a record deal. And so along with the cover, it was dope. But the dopest part was I was like, well, everybody might not like me. And I had the squad of dope artists that I was working with because my key was always, we need a movement. It's not just about me. There was always this picture in the barbershop that I'd always see where there was an arm helping somebody else over the wall.
I love it.
And it stuck with me. So I was like, I'm going to put on this Who I Gotta Kill mixtape, all these other dope artists. So it was a compilation at the same time as a mixtape. So if you don't like me, you're going to like him. You're going to like him. You're going to like her. So it was a mixture of original songs and me rapping over like my favorite, like hip hop records. So like, Excuse Me Miss Remix was on there. It was Nelly songs. Like, this is when all those cats were big. So we're snatching all these dope beats, Eminem dope beats from back then, freestyling over those, and then having original songs. Yeah. So I forget what All-Star Weekend it was, but we had copies of this, and we slipped them under hotel doors. While doing construction work and hustling, we put our money together, and we were sliding them under all these hotel doors. You know what I mean? Like, all these people were in LA for
during the All-Star Weekend, the All-Star game. Yeah,
this was the best time to attack the W. Whatever hotels were there, wherever they're at. But then on top of that, we snuck into the Interscope Melon Room and had them packed in with their promotional stuff that they were sending out. So then people are you have to break the rules. Yeah, not where it hurts somebody, but where you can figure out how you can be different from the next 5 million people trying to get hurt.
It's guerrilla marketing. It's taking matters into your own hands. There's this great term I remembered. There was a book that there's a book put out called The Happy Mutants Handbook back in the 80s. I think the people who put out Spy Magazine back in the 80s put this out. And they talked about like reverse shoplifting. Basically, shop dropping, where you bring your stuff, like you would bring your mixtapes into a record store and drop them in the bin, right, with the where they belong, right? And that's basically what you were doing.
Shoplifting. I love that.
That's what you were doing.
That's what we were doing, because then if you're getting a 50 Cent, album, or Eminem, or whoever was on Geffen at that time, you also got my mixtape. So he's got to be the next guy up. You're just not saying nothing yet. Yeah. So the buzz got big that way.
And that's how you become the platinum backpacker.
Exactly. Right? So it's super cool. I'm only doing this to give people context to understand it wasn't from 0 to 100 and I'm here at Aftermath. Right. That was the result of a big bidding war. It was so much that went on, and it was by chance, because at that time I was really trying to sign to Kanye West. I wasn't thinking about Dr. Dre. Right. He just happened to be on a video set, so I said, to hell with it. I'm here. I broke onto the video set. We could have got arrested. Right. We were hiding out. Make it worthwhile. And again, it's those moments that change everything. Usually I think he chucks demos, but this day he was just like, I'm about to leave, go home and have dinner with my wife. If it's dope, I'll call you. And that was it. That was the exchange. Wow. Again, I was doing it to impress girls that were on the set and to make our time taking that risk. Me and the homie DJ Rampage at the time, because DJ Rampage was a very big component to why I had success. So props again to DJ Rampage, because without the DJs, there are no artists. And I hate when people negate DJs. He had me on all his mixtapes. He had me rocking. You know what I mean? Yeah. DJ For Real, this is when we had crates. I was carrying DJ For Real's crates to be down, to be in the clubs, to be where the tastemakers were. So there was a long process of give and take and wins and losses. Yeah. You're going to take a lot more L's than you are going to have wins in the beginning for people trying to rise. Nothing is overnight, and it shouldn't be overnight. So all that turns into getting the Aftermath. But mind you, for years before that, we were working on songs in Snoop Dogg's garage, because through my time moving from studio to studio, I met his little brother Big, and Cousin Creek Dog and Goldie Loc before the Eastsiders, all this stuff. And I didn't know Snoop had a little brother. And then we start doing music, and he invites me out to the house one day, and it's fucking Snoop Dogg. So here I am now in Snoop Dogg's house, knowing Snoop Dogg. I knew Nate Dogg first from doing Stunt Work and I can't even remember how I met everybody, but there was a lot of different things that I did. But we were making our demos in Snoop's garage. So when we come out the garage, he was in the house doing huge records with Scott Storch and whoever you could name. So it was always around. Guess what? I was that close, but I still wasn't on. So that can unnerve somebody because you want your chance. But how Snoop saw us back then was like, y'all just little kids. Y'all whack. Shut the fuck up. You whack guys. But look, we're here. And this is when like he was the biggest rapper in the world. So it's very unreal. So again, all this was a grounds of forging the artist I would become. So then flash forward to Aftermath. I want to give people that understanding that nothing happened overnight. There was a lot of back and forth.
Many steps.
I had to change lawyers like twice to get the deal right. I had to change lawyers twice to get the deal done right. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of crazy stuff because one lawyer in the beginning was friends with them. So they're going to play you.
Right.
People think that these lawyers are on the side, but it's like, it's business for them. It's just like prosecutor and
defense lawyer. This is something
together.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a very important thing for musicians to understand if they're in the business, that we the artists in this business are the stuff that runs through the pipes.
Yes.
They're the pipes.
Yes.
They're the system, right? The lawyers talk to the labels. It doesn't matter what artist they're dealing with. They're talking that they're dealing with the labels for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. We're a blip in time as far as they're
just
concerned.
Cattle.
And so if you don't know that, you're at a disadvantage.
They'll always have another racehorse because when that racehorse breaks his leg, it's run all his races, we're gonna turn you into glue. Or we might make you some hamburgers at McDonald's. Just saying. You never know where it's gonna end up.
You don't know.
So again, we have to realize that they don't see us as precious commodities. The blessing of how the internet came about and the decline of major labels to it being a free frontier to a certain extent, we are masters of our own destiny again, and we don't have to be put in a screwed up situation to where we are exploited, we are destroyed, beat down, and altered from who we originally were.
Well, I have a question that was submitted by one of our students. Remington Sosa said he'd love to know how you feel about the current state of hip hop and what you feel like your place in the marketplace is these days. And I think that this is a nice lead into that question, because what you're talking about essentially is the fact that you can go direct to the fan. You have
beautiful.
You have a direct connection, right?
Yeah, and you cut out all that madness. You cut out all that frustration and red tape and debt that you didn't accumulate in the first place. Like let's get the Aftermath thing out the way. When I went to Aftermath, and I'll get back to the question he had. When I went to Aftermath, my eyes were open because I'm finally hearing it's Dr. Dre, it's Eminem, it's 50 Cent, it's Busta Rhymes, it's Mary J. Blige, it's Q-Tip, it's whoever you can name. They're there in the room. It's happening. Writing all these songs for different artists. But here comes the business, or here comes not the business. And so you're in trouble. And you're dealing with a monster and a machine that is only going to do what it wants to do. It doesn't care who it chews up and spits out. You know, it kind of looked like Terminator. Which one was it? Terminator 2? Yeah. When the machines were running over all the skulls and stuff. That's kind of what the music industry. That's what the music industry does to good souls and to people that come with their art and their blood. People forget that you don't need the industry needs you. They always need new blood. They need new life. They need the youth. They need new ideas, or they're going to be the rusty Titanic ship that they are now. Right. And so the business part of it really stunned me, because I've never been a business guy. I don't like confrontation. I don't like conflicts. I don't like manipulation. I don't like liars. I don't like people trying to take something from you. Like this is my babies. This is what I do. Right. And that's exactly what that was over there. It's a business. They don't care about you. Regardless of my relationship with Dre or whoever, there's a business and there's a bottom line. And if it's already in the red, we don't care about how dope your music is and what you're trying to do for the world. Right. We got to sell records. But guess what? You got to take a backseat because Detox has to come out first. Right. It's already shut down. I've worked all my life to get to here. So that experience was very bittersweet. It's taken years to get to where I am again now, to where that disappointment and those setbacks, those letdowns, that getting beat up that bad didn't take my light away. My light got dim, because then you're trapped in a contract and you're ruled by a piece of paper. Right. And that was all unreal to me. And I had to fight to get free. But that's what comes with it. That's my story. It's not everybody's story. But like you said, there's going to be a cost. I wasn't going to pay those costs because that's not what I signed up for. Right. What you see is what you get with me. And maybe a little bit more if we get comfortable, you see how crazy I really am. But other than that, you have a purist, you have a loyalist, you have a fighter for you. And so you have to be in those kind of environments. And that at the time, Interscope, that whole environment was just too toxic for me. All I did was become an alcoholic, be really stressed out, get ulcers, become somebody I wasn't, fighting against people, fighting against people who wanted what I had. Right. Because they're always looking from the outside in, thinking it's dreamy. So you start to have a target on your back. Then all of a sudden the music is no longer about you and just people. It's got to be a club song. It's got to be a crossover song. It's got to have this producer. It's got to have this kind of hook. So all of a sudden you start questioning yourself. You start not believing in yourself. You start listening to these supposed, top people, A&Rs, whatever, and they start changing you. You start losing pieces of yourself. So I say to everybody that's going to watch this and hear this, don't let people make you compromise who you are in your soul, in your heart.
That's a great message.
Don't give it away because you think this is your only chance. You'll have so many chances if you just don't die. And that's why the new album's called Just Don't Die.
I was just going to say, that sounds like an album title to me. Yeah.
Come whatever may, as long as you can take care of yourself and stay healthy, stay focused, stay deeply in your craft, more opportunities are going to come because you're manifesting them. Right. They're not manifesting you, you're manifesting them. So artists, protect your souls. Don't be a smug asshole, but be genuine and understand who you are, and don't let people take that from you. And that's when I got to that point where I was like, to hell with this. I don't care about being famous. I don't care about being blah, blah, blah on this big label. Fuck it. If I'm not happy, it doesn't matter. Right. Because then it's just a projection to please other people, and you're tricked by your ego.
Yeah. And what are you trying to do? What's the point at that moment?
I'm just trying to make music.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make music, and I want it to come out. Because what's the point if you're doing 500, 600 songs and the world never hears them? Right. What's the point? You know what I mean?
We don't have a lot more time, unfortunately. As I said, I think this may actually be part one.
Part one.
Because there's a lot to talk about still. And I think that this is a really valuable conversation for our students. I think they're going to very much enjoy this. I have a question from DJ Ritter, which is a little bit more practical for the current times. He said, during coronavirus, what would you recommend for artists who are trying to get into writers' circles? How might someone access those communities with the lack of physical activity that's going on right now? Is there a way to sort of involve yourself in other people's scenes?
I mean, all these social networks are already doing that. Like us on this Zoom call right now, you can do this with other artists, and everybody's jamming where they are and creating. So there's no limit to that, and it's actually a more sought after thing. Yeah. So with technology, we can reach anybody everywhere. So you said his name was DJ
Ritter. Yeah. DJ Ritter. Yeah.
Through the music and through like a lot, like we were just talking about Twitch channels and different things. There's ways to create your world and to be able to bring people into the same space and create, because it's so needed. So that's an easy one. I think it was harder when there wasn't this pandemic, because people are in their own worlds. By nature, a lot of people are selfish, arrogant, and they don't want to be involved with
it. And as we said earlier, they're ruled by inertia, right? So it's hard to go out of your way and break your pattern. I've been telling this story to anybody who would listen. Like, from the pandemic shutdown in the middle of March, I've been busier and I've met more people and enjoyed working with more people. You're a case in point. I hadn't had one conversation with you until a few weeks ago, and I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for the pandemic. I wouldn't know you if it wasn't for the fact that I was connected to this person who led to this person who led to this person. And I think it's a great time for people to remember why they do what they do, and to connect with each other in this way, and to make themselves available. And the friction involved is so minimal now. All you have to do is agree to sit down at the same time and log on, and you can actually have an exchange.
And it's most needed now, for the first time in so many years.
Right.
Music is very important. The art forms are very important to help people through these times. I think music even more so than paintings, but you never know. It's whatever you feel. But music is always a soundtrack to real life. So for artists, this is when the bat signal's in the sky and you're needed. Right. Gotham is in trouble and you're needed. And you got to go all the way for them. And so it's a great time to really find it in yourself, to be a beacon of light, to be a voice for the voiceless, to be hope for people who are hopeless. A lot of people are facing evictions coming up. And I mean, look, we got these crazy fires. We got earthquakes. We got all kind of crazy stuff going in the world. We have war constantly going on. People need hope. And this is when you give them the music. Be it funny, be it serious, be it sexy. I don't care. As long as it can save people, it can change people's minds, it can lift people up. This is the time for all y'all listening to really dig in deep and do your thing and reach the people. But it always starts with the core intention. What is the core intention? Am I trying to get rich? There's nothing wrong with getting rich if that's what you want. Say what you mean what you say. But 100%. It always should start with a pure intention. And that pure intention will never guide you to a wrong destination. If you follow your intuition, like really later on in my life at this age now, I completely follow my gut. I started early. They tried to undermine that and tell me not to do that, but I'm back to that. And when you go from that, I say it this way: if you go within, you'll never go without. And that's where you need to be.
And this is why I loved you the minute I met you. And this is why I felt like we connected very deeply. I think we're about the same things. I am a cartoon character when it comes to talking about values alignment. They make fun of me here in this program because it's all I ever talk about. I always talk about the fact that if you can find people with whom you connect in terms of your core values, there's really nothing you can't do. The friction drops away, right? So this is all the time we have, unfortunately, but I'm going to have you back. And this is so valuable. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you making the time for all of us. Bishop Lamont, thank you for being with us. Loyola University Music Industry Forum. We'll have you again. So long, fella.
Thank you, brother. Blessings.